Hello, welcome to another episode of Constitutionalist Podcast. I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard. That's L-E-N-A-R-D. It looks French. It's not. It's Leonard without an O. Thank you for tuning in. As Graham Norton used to say on his show, let's get on with the show! Hello, everyone. A special introductory segment before getting into the episode. The remainder of December. Merry Christmas to all. And since I'll be using this opening through the rest of December, they will be Tuesday and Thursday drops here on out for December to help me get caught up with some interviews that I've got in the pile that have been recorded, waiting to be released. To help with that backlog, I'm going to do 2 a week now, Tuesdays and Thursdays the rest of December, as well as January and February. So, in the background here, audio only, you're not seeing it obviously, says Merry Christmas to soldiers everywhere who can't be with their families, showing a group of soldiers with Santa and elf hats on. But anyway, or at any rate, the ongoing, I said right again. I've found I'm gotten to the habit of saying right? I gotta watch that. I gotta stop that. Anyway, let's get on with an interview. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Constitutionalist. And first, apologies to others who may be waiting for their discussions to drop, because Sara is here to talk New York, and with the man Dami, and I've got to be careful I say that slow. People who watch the show regularly or listen know my politics, so I generally call him Madman Dummy. So I want to be careful, though. I want us to try to have a down-the-middle diplomatic discussion, much like Mamdani and Trump had in the Oval Office. By the time this airs now, a couple weeks ago, but I want to indeed move this up in the release rotation ahead of others, because who knows what will follow that discussion they had in first few months when Mamdani actually takes office. So joining me today is Sara, and I'll only say this, Alessandrini.
Yes.
Is that Greek?
It's Italian.
I'm part Italian, but yeah, Slovenian, mom's Italian side there. But yeah, no, I would have guessed Greek, and of course, my audience also knows I can't resist the lame puns. So it's all Greek to me. But I'm bummed, right? Yeah. As the saying goes. Anyway, all joking aside, welcome to the show, Sara.
Thank you. And I'm not a fan of Mamdani either, so
okay.
No, don't worry offending me.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
That aside, I hope we'll be able to try to keep our discussion somewhat diplomatic, as nonpartisan as possible, and theoretical.
I'm on the Cuomo side, so I like Cuomo. So yeah, definitely, I'm not happy that Mamdani won. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not a fan of the senior slayer either. But yeah, again, I want to put that aside for today.
It was not his fault. We can talk about the nursing homes too, but yes,
yeah,
not his fault.
First, though, about you. Where were you born and raised? Where are you now? Significant places you may have been in between. How much time did you spend in prison, and for what? That kind of stuff.
Luckily, no time in prison, because I'm an immigrant, so I don't want that record. So yes, so no time in prison at all. Yeah, no, I was born and raised in Italy. So I'm from the north of Italy, like the south of the north.
Oh, Sicilian, so
Well, you're
Again,
south.
yeah,
I'm
we'll
like
have
north.
to put that aside too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was born and raised there. Like I was there for 20 years. So then I moved to Roma where I studied like filmmaking. I worked there in the industry. So that's where I was for a few years. Then a short parenthesis in Australia. Just went a few months there and then, but I always want to come to this country. So my dream was here. But as an immigrant, it's complicated, obviously, to come to this country. So first I went to Australia.
If you do it legally, yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I mean, it's very difficult even to be legally here. So, like, I would never do it illegally. So, but yeah, so then after there, I came to Los Angeles. So I've been living in Los Angeles for 10 years, but my brain lives in New York, apparently, for the past 4 or 5 years, because I made this documentary called This Is What New Yorkers Say, that is for like talked to regular New Yorkers about Andrew Cuomo's resignation. So I've been following all that situation for the past years when he was forced to resign with accusation of sexual harassment, and also
Which I'm on the fence with that. A lot of celebrities and or politicians get fake Me Too accusations. We see it left and right. So I don't know where I stand on that. And again, that aside, we're here more to talk Mamdani Trump meeting and going forward now that he's elected. But anyway, I interrupted you.
it's about the process. It's like whatever how you feel. Like obviously, like I read the accusation. I have so many questions about it. I don't believe what they said about him. I don't believe what the media say constantly about him. So, but I wanted to hear directly from the people and have like in that conversation about these topics. So it's started from Cuomo, but really to talk about like cancel culture, social media, how we deal with social media, how we don't really interact with people. And especially like now there is this thing, if I don't agree with your politics, I should not talk to you. It's terrible. It's a terrible situation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
there is
now
also division.
all that stuff about Anthony Weiner, that I believe, but again, a whole other show.
It's a different one, yeah. So, but yeah, that's what I've been spending like the past 4 years seeing like all the situation about Andrew Cuomo. So then obviously I went to New York multiple times this past few months for the election. So I was there I was at the watch party of the Cuomo team during the election. So I was definitely like watching very closely. Volunteering too sometime, like going around and talking to people and seeing what like during this past month what they were feeling, how the election process works. So yeah, I was like learning a lot in the past month while I was traveling there in New York, seeing like firsthand the election.
I'm clearly on the right side of the aisle as a constitutionalist, biblical community versus worldly communism. Big distinction. But again, all of that aside, if I were one of those hyper partisan idiots and I don't like them on either left or right, Democrat, rah, 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 my team, or Republican, rah, 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 my team, only my team, right? Blinders on. I deal in reality. But if I were one of those hyper partisans, I would want to attack Cuomo, obviously. But like, after all that garbage with the Kavanaugh hearing attacks and in my opinion, false allegations and whatnot, I try to be a little more sensitive to people are going to make accusations regardless. So
yeah, we should give due process to everybody. Like everybody deserves due process. Not because you're rich, or you're a man or you're a politician, then you're a horrible human being. Like that's not how you create a fair society. That's the problem. And it doesn't help women either. If like now suddenly everything becomes like an offense, like words of like people losing their life,
actual battered and abused women suffer when there are a million false Me Too accusations because then their story doesn't get believed.
If everybody like scream wolf, then at a certain point you don't believe any of them. So that's where like you have to be careful. You need to have a system where like it's fair. Like okay, you do the investigation, you see just because someone obviously make an accusation doesn't mean like someone else is guilty. And again, like you're innocent until proven guilty, and that's what should be, not depending on who you are. Okay. And I don't like Trump necessarily. Like I don't have any issue with him. I'm not a fan of Trump, but I would give him the same benefit of the doubt. Like he's innocent until proven guilty.
I don't have TDS, but I'm also not a Trump cultist.
Yeah, I don't have TDS either. Yes.
Was he a serial philanderer, millionaire, billionaire, playboy? Absolutely. All the women he dated, he cheated on all his previous. All that is factual. That, for someone to deny that is just dumb. It's, it's delusional. It's cultism. But is he the same or a different person now? And again, that's a whole other debate. But back to Cuomo, then I want to move on to Mom Dami. Cuomo, do I think he's a Bill Clinton? No. We all know Clinton and his escapades.
Yeah, and and Cuomo is like someone who like worked 24/7. Cuomo is always like
in a way he was like Trump. Yeah, Trump always working.
Yeah, so like he's not someone with that like lifestyle, Cuomo, like going out and do all kind of like crazy stuff. So that's where even in my documentary, like people like just don't believe the accusation because like they've seen Cuomo, they've worked with him, they've seen how he behaved, and then there is the cultural element too. Obviously, like culture like Italian, the Latinos, like obviously we have a different way of interacting with other people, which is like more human. It's less that...
And a lot of times can be more flirtatious and that
and asking personal questions. Like to me, it's funny. Like if you ask me the difference, like in Italy, if someone asks you if you're in a relationship, it's the most normal question someone can ask you. Like here, when you meet someone, you ask them, what kind of job do you do? In Italy, it's like, oh, are you in a relationship? That's the most normal question you do. But in this country, if you just ask that question, even if you know them for like a while, even if it's in the middle of like another 95 question.
Yeah,
if you just ask that question, that means they're interested. And it's like, that's not like, not for the Italian culture. So like, we're just very curious about other people's life. And we want to know everything about other people's life. It doesn't necessarily mean we're interested.
I've got a couple shows, especially around Valentine's Day every year, right? Regarding dating and relationships. And I have a show I finally did on beauty, eye of the beholder, right? Because, physical attraction and appearance is part of our human nature and experience and plays a role in relationships. I break down the different categories of beauty. I didn't get into it in the beauty eye of the beholder episode, and probably should have. I have said forever, there's a big difference, and you kind of alluded to this and triggered in a good way this thought, not me emotionally, but me intellectually. You triggered the thought. There's a difference between admiration and I forget my own terminology
like
here.
Appreciation.
Right. But like I can well married. It didn't mean I stopped admiring other women's beauty, but I didn't seek. I wasn't looking to obtain. There's a difference between admiration and whatever my other term, I can't remember now, but an interest and seeking to act upon that potential admiration. You know what I mean?
And I think that the problem that I touched also in the documentary is the fact like now a lot of people like interact through social media. They're not used to actually get to know people, understand who they are, where they're coming from, their culture, their beliefs, or whatever it is. And coming from Italy, where we still like we're not so obsessed with technology as people are in this country. Like people you see here, everybody's always on their phone. They cannot have like regular interaction with other people. In Italy, it's very different. Like people still seek that kind of like human connection, and so they're less obsessed with their social media, less obsessed with showing off that stuff. So you actually get to know people on a human level. And I see here a lot of people in the workplace, especially also, like, people feel like I don't need to know anything about you, but when actually you learn about people on their human level, then you understand what they mean when they say something.
Right. It's just caring. To tie it back to biblical, admiration doesn't necessarily mean lusting after someone. I can admire the way they look. That doesn't mean I lust after them. And in biblical caring about our neighbors, are you in a relationship? No, it's not because I want to ask you out on a date. It's just because, hey, curious about what's going on in your life. Major cultural issue, different shock, especially with all the Me Too movement, the fifth wave feminism stuff goes on over here. It's, oh my God, emotionally triggered snowflake meltdowns.
We talk about diversity so much, like in this country, but then, like, okay, if someone does something in a way that comes from like a different culture, different way of behaving, now suddenly, like, you're a monster. It's like, if you want diversity, you're gonna have like people who do things in different ways. Yes, obviously, harassing women, it's not good for anyone. Doesn't matter what the culture is.
You have to obey our Western culture laws, and norms. Yes, you have.
Yeah, like obviously, when you come like to a workplace, obviously you do all the trainings about sexual harassment and all of that. But again, it's also on the people to understand what, like, just because someone asks you a question doesn't mean necessarily what kind of movie you're making in your own head. And it might be even that. But again, even if like someone is interested in you, doesn't mean that person is like threatening you or something. So there are so many different layers. It's like so many gray areas. You cannot just say, even if someone asks you out, someone is interested in you, doesn't mean
he's that like offensive.
Yeah, like you're interested, you can say no. And it's like, I'm young, like in my 30s, I've said no to a lot of people. A lot of people have said no to me. It's not that every man is interested in you. So there are so many layers, and we need to have that honest conversation. Like every case is different. You cannot just make just someone touches your shoulder, that's sexual harassment. It cannot be that simple, black and white. So.
Right. Oh, and you touched on it. We need to relax and calm down. And the problem is we can't have honest conversations.
Yeah,
even the conversation is, oh my God, offensive. Right. Even though many on the left constantly are saying, we need to have the conversation. You don't want conversation. You want to dictate your way. But assimilation, you need to assimilate to our culture and our laws, and diversity. Diversity, equity, inclusion. We already are the most diverse and inclusive nation this planet has ever seen. Have you heard of E pluribus unum, the Latin motto for America? From many one. It isn't cultural appropriation for me to put on a sombrero and drink margaritas on Cinco de Mayo. That's not appropriation. That's appreciation. That's diversity. That's inclusion.
When I hear people talking about like immigrants, like being an immigrant, like obviously it's difficult. It's difficult, but of course you're going in a country with different culture, with different customs. You have to learn, assimilate, and everything. Like obviously, I was always a huge fan of this country, so it was not an issue for me because I came here to be in this country, not to be with other, create like an Italian community or something. But if you go to other countries, like even Italy or France, immigrants are not as integrated as they are in this country. So you have a very different, much more difficult situation.
And that's what those of us on the right want to avoid. Like I'm in Detroit area, right? Dearbornistan. We have Greektown in Detroit and Chinatown in Detroit, and little communities where you celebrate other cultures is good, but if it becomes an enclave and you're not part of anything else, you've not assimilated it all, then yes, that becomes a problem rather than a benefit.
Yeah, I mean, I know even Italian people, like, they barely speak the language. Even they are like young at my age, where like they have all the opportunity to learn the language. They come from like good backgrounds, not like poor or something. And still,
Right.
like, even they're coming here, but they come here with the idea, like, still, like, everything about my culture is better than this. To me, the question is always, then why are you here if you don't
Right.
really
Go
love this
back.
place? Like, and again, I will never stop being an Italian on some level, obviously, because I'm, and not just Italian.
We
Like, I mean,
both got the hand thing going.
yeah, like my hands. I cannot think if I don't move my hands. Like sometimes I try to stay still, and I'm like, oh wait, what do I should say? Cannot speak. So,
Yeah, and
but
I'm also part Polish and German in my heritage. Hamtramck was known as Little Poland before. It's no longer the Polish enclave it used to be. Here in Wyandotte, where I actually live downriver, there is the Polish community, the German community, the Italian community. Doesn't mean they don't mingle and mix, obviously. Grandpa and grandma. Grandpa was on mother's side was German. Grandma on mother's side Italian. On my dad's side, both Polish, but all intermingled and intermixed and
yeah.
interrelated, intermarried, assimilated together. Didn't appropriate each other's culture, but took part of other cultures as their own as a benefit, not as a theft.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we're
Yeah. We're talking about everything.
22 minutes in, and let's actually get to what you're here for. Mamdani got elected. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever your opinion, we're here to theoretically talk about because Trump is not a conservative. He's not a real Republican. He's a populist. What can they? He's not adverse to spending money, despite the Doge pennies on the dollar cuts here and there. We are still over between $1 and $2 trillion federal deficit. He's not adverse to spending money. So I'm curious because I don't know the New York City or state statutes. Like a big issue is crime. Affordability, yes, but crime also. And Mamdani, with his statements in the past, catch and release mentality versus broken windows mentality, letting people back out on the streets to reoffend over and over and over again is an issue with many, but yet they voted Mamdani in, who would be still weak on what play does he have in the prosecutor's office or any at all?
Well, obviously, like, so first of all, we need to also like look at the numbers of actually the election, because yeah, people talk about a lot about what's been going on, and they act because if you look at like social media, if you look at the media or whatever, like it looked like Mamdani like would have made like 90% of the votes. If you look at like the New York Post released like an article acting like as if no one voted for Cuomo. It's like that's not the reality if you look at the numbers. So Mamdani got barely like closer to 51% of the votes. 51% of the votes. If you consider also like, I think it was, what's that, 70% of people in New York City voted for Kamala Harris instead of Trump. So it's a very blue city, obviously. So, and considering how progressive a lot of people are there, 51% is not that much as people are making. And yeah,
right.
Cuomo got
and that's of the pool of people who actually got off their butts to vote. More people didn't vote than did vote for all of them combined.
Yeah, this obviously was like the most, like the election that like in the past, I think 3 decades, they said the most people went to vote. So it was 2 million people. But again, we're talking about, I think, a population of like 6 million people that could vote or maybe less of that. But yeah, so we're talking about, obviously, it's not everybody. A lot of people are always disillusioned about politics. So I was talking to people. So yeah, there are people that are like, oh, what's the point of me going to vote? There are situations where the person like, even if maybe they just moved, so they didn't change their registration, so they couldn't vote, or someone who was working the whole day couldn't take the time off from work. So there are all kinds of situations.
That's true of almost all elections, though, too.
Yeah.
Local, state, federal, right? A fraction of a fraction of a fraction elects whomever.
Yeah, so obviously that was like an issue during the primary because much less people went to vote because people were just assuming Cuomo would win. And then because the young people that are like very far to the left, they are very engaged compared to other people from other communities, then they all went to vote. And so he got the primary. And of course, when you become like the head of like the Democratic Party, in the primary, obviously a lot of people, as you said, they just vote for the party. They don't vote for the person or whatever it is. So Cuomo was actually the real Democrat, but he was on an independent line. And then you had Mamdani, who was a socialist or democratic socialist, if you say it's a difference.
Yeah, right, yeah. There's a difference.
If you believe in the difference.
A socialist with sprinkles on top, as the online
yes, I see a lot of people are like, that's not socialism, it's different. Whatever. Yeah. However you feel about that, but he wasn't the Democratic Party.
They don't know real socialism like immigrants do. I have a lot of friends escaped from behind the Iron Curtain that know what real socialism and communism is. And they know it when they see it, and they're seeing it here.
Yeah, but if you never lived outside of this country, then you just assume like people, and I see that all the time when I talk to my Italian friends too. If you are in a culture, you just assume that everybody else in other countries think in the same way as you do, when it's not the reality. Every culture really changes the way you think about topics. So you cannot put your American mind to really understand the Middle East without taking in consideration that they have a different culture and the same other countries. And so a lot of people think like, oh yeah, that's socialism didn't work in Venezuela because of this and that, but it's going to work here. So that's a different conversation. Obviously, we all have different definitions of what everything is.
We don't teach history in this country anymore, civics or history. It's all theoretical, cultural, Marxist, social studies now.
Yeah, and it's also like even like in Italy, where like we have a much better educational system than in this country. Still, history, you just learn, okay, this happened on this day, this happened that, then after that, but you don't really understand the why, what was going on in the society around that time.
In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. I still have that, of course, memorized. Well, the details beyond that are what are important and matter. Like people didn't learn the Bradford colony, the Mayflower Commie Compact. We tried communism long before Marx ever thought he dreamt it up on our soil. The Bradford colony, the Mayflower Compact, was a socialist, communist, commune compact. Collective ownership, collective rights. They almost all starved to death. Then they pivoted to personal rights, individual private property ownership, free market capitalism. And the rest, as they say, is history. What America was founded on. And
it was a very different time with very different issues than the ones we have now. So to me, it's just ridiculous to be still talking about fascism and communism in 2025. Just come with new system, come with something that is more related to this time than the same words that were spoken 50, 60, 70 years ago or something. Maybe more, because like we're in 2025. It's like we're still 2000. I cannot even count how many years ago was that. But yeah.
So move your hands more, it'll come to you, right?
Yeah, it's gonna come back if I just say
Italian humor.
Yes. But yeah, so going back to the election, so that's the thing. So we have like this amount of people, but if you look at the exit polls, like it was interesting to see they were asking like the people the question, how long have you lived in New York? So there was like 0 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, 10, more than 10 years, but I was not born here or I was born here. the more the more someone
The
was born,
demographics,
like
yeah,
the more someone had been in New York, the more likely they were to vote for Cuomo. So the people, the 0 to 5, voted like 86% for Mamdani. So that tells you also like the difference. Like if you were born and raised in New York, you were more likely to vote for Cuomo. If you were if you moved to New York 0 to 5 years ago, that means you probably never even seen Cuomo like governing because he resigned in 2021. So that means that was like 4 years and more ago. So a lot of these people, they moved to New York probably after he resigned, so they never got to see him, and like how he was working. They never saw his father, obviously, but that obviously was like a long.
no, that's ancient history. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's like, to me, when I was listening to like Mamdani's speech and talking about how they toppling down like they won against a dynasty. To me, it's like, if you might like, obviously you might hate Andrew Cuomo. Like, obviously we're not gonna be friends, but that's, I accept that. If you don't like him, that's okay. But a lot of people love Mario Cuomo. So if you have issues with Andrew, why do you have issues with Mario? So it just shows that like they just hate dynasties just because of the concept.
We
Like,
know it well here in Southeast Michigan. The Dingle dynasty goes back almost 100 years. The original Dingle was there for life. Then his son took over for life. And now John Dingle Jr.'s wife, Debbie Dingle, heir to the Fisher Guide fortune in GM, Debbie Fisher, Debbie Dingle, she felt entitled and inherited more or less the seat based on the name recognition. So yeah, we understand that in Southeast Michigan well.
yeah, but at the same time, like, first of all, people loved Mario. A lot of people loved him anyway. So like now you have issues with Mario too. Like, one thing is to have an issue with Andrew, but also like, again, and it's not nepotism anyway. It's not that like, because you had to be voted for governor. So Andrew
Right.
was
You
voted.
still had to get the votes. Yes.
Yeah, so people voted for him, and they voted for him 3 times. And if it wasn't for the sexual harassment allegation and how they were trying to force him to resign or impeach him, he would have won a 4th term very easily.
Yeah.
So, and even
yeah.
for this election, he still got like 900,000 votes when people act as if like no one wants him. But a lot of people still love him. Yes, a lot of people that voted for him in this election, of course, they might hate him and still voted for him because they prefer him.
Lesser two evils. Yeah.
Yeah, like, obviously there are all kinds of people, but I met also people that voted for Mamdani, they still loved Cuomo. So we're not talking about just because you voted for Mamdani, that means you hate Andrew and everything. So
right.
There are all kinds of situations. So that to me was interesting to see the exit poll. So okay, 50% of the people voted, but a bunch of those people are also people that maybe just moved there like a few months ago or so, and they got to decide.
Yeah,
like,
and we're discussing it again. Turnout. If all those people that whine, moan, and complain, my vote doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If all you my vote doesn't matter people actually showed up, you could have all wrote in Bozo the Clown, and Bozo the Clown would have won by write-in. So don't tell me that my vote don't count, because it does. If everybody actually showed up, the results would be different. The dynasty people wouldn't win on name recognition.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the issue. Obviously, like, democracy only works if everybody's engaged and everybody has the information and the system is set to actually make it work. And again, if you keep defunding the educational system, if like the media doesn't do its job and they're always like attacking people on a personal level, it's not a good society. It's not a society. It's not like democracy. It's not like an effective democracy.
And I can hear people yelling at their computer or their phone if they're listening on their phone right now. You know, even though this will air weeks from now, I'll get the nasties. Wait, see, No, we are a representative republic, but everybody uses the word democracy. Correct. We are a representative, constitutionally limited republic. So I know what you mean. You know what you mean, but yet there will still be people get upset because
and I get it, because I also studied business. Like I came to this country and I always hear everybody talking about it's a democracy, it's a democracy. And then I was studying business and I was like, well, actually, democracy is not even part of the constitution or whatever. And it was like, oh, that's interesting. I never heard that. I never heard that at the time, because I also live in Los Angeles, so everybody's very on the left side here. So definitely, no, I totally understand what you mean, saying that it's not a democracy, but you mean democracy, meaning when people are going out to vote. You're gonna vote for the good people, and you're gonna have good people if the system is set so that actually you have the right information.
Our founders spoke to that at the convention. They did not want mobocracy, ineptocracy, kleptocracy, unfortunately we've got far too much of now. The old adage, 2 wolves and a lamb voting what's for dinner. It's not what's for dinner, it's who's on the menu. The sheep. The 2 wolves outvote the sheep. That's why we are not a mobocracy. The minority is supposed to be protected. But again, we've gotten off the beaten path again. So
there are so many topics that are worth talking, obviously.
I toggled my video too, because my movements threw my video off there and I went blurry. But the power of the mayor versus the power of the council is a dynamic in play here too. The mayor is kind of like a president. The Congress or the council really has the bill-making authority, and the mayor can sign or veto. He has executive privileges, but in order for Mamdani to get through many of the things he's talked about, like government-run grocery stores like Moscow, or failed in St. Louis even more recently here, he's got to have a council. What's the council makeup like?
I mean, and also a lot of things that he wants to do, he needs the governor to sign up to go for that. And a lot of that, it's not possible. He wants to increase taxes on the wealthy, the rich. First of all, that's not how the system works, because billionaires don't take regular salaries. So you cannot just increase the percentage, because that's not how they make their money. They don't have a regular salary. If you make $1 million salary, you're already taxed a lot. And in New York City, you are taxed way more than everywhere else.
90% of most taxes that, vary. Your region may vary, your mileage may vary, as I say, but in general, 90% of all taxes everywhere are paid by the top 10 or 5% of people already. How are they not wanting others to pay their fair share?
Yeah, but so there is that issue. But again, he does it as a mayor. He doesn't control where the
doesn't have that power and authority.
Yeah, he needs Albany to do that. And again, next year there is an election. So for the governor, so Kathy Hochul, she already said she cannot increase taxes, but also she's going against Elise Stefanik, that she's Republican, and even a lot of people that voted for Cuomo, obviously, during the election, they're already thinking about voting for Stefanik, because if they're already it's very far left New York City, they don't want the state to be also left.
Taxes are off the charts. Only California is worse. There might be a couple others worse, but New York, New Jersey, California, major taxation.
Yeah, but so that's the thing. It's an election next year. she already had a hard time winning the last time, but now that there is like New York City that's going very far left, a lot more people will prefer to vote for a Republican candidate. So she cannot be like, oh, let's increase taxes when already she's in a very difficult situation. But also,
and millionaires and billionaires are very portable. They can move, and they'll take their companies and your job with them, and you lose your job.
Yeah, like you can live in Jersey, you can live in Westchester, you can live a lot of places, still do business in New York. But also at the same time, it's not like he wants to tax the millionaire or the billionaire, whatever it is, in New York State, and then put all the money made by that tax into New York City instead of redistributing that around the state. Like, that's not going to be okay. Like, there is already a lot of like hate between upstate and downstate in New York because everybody think that the governor always favor and only cares for New York City. So a lot of other districts, other like areas, region, they're not going to be okay with like adding like an extra tax on just to give more money to New York City to fund free buses or like other services. So
we have that exact dynamic in Wayne County, especially, which is where Detroit is. I'm in southern Wayne County. The Wayne County politics, taxation, and where does all of it go? Detroit, right? And same with the state politics. Most people, the western part of the state, constantly, the northern touristy parts of the state constantly complaining about how much of state taxes get funneled to Detroit.
Yeah. And even like the groceries, having like a one for each borough. Like, first of all, there are like 16,000, I think, like grocery store, bodegas and everything. So 5 extra is not gonna change the situation of New York City. And and I guess it's more symbolic, but even if that was the case, everybody travels to those groceries because the prices are cheaper, then you're not going to have any food.
On the shelf.
There is nothing on the shelf.
Yeah.
But also, government always say that, oh, we're going to tax this and we're going to give you lower prices. First of all, you're starting a new industry, like the government is taking on a new industry that never been before in New York City. So that's going to cost you a lot of money, a lot of consultants, building. So that's going to be a lot of expenses just to get started. So like even in Italy, I remember like apparently when they created like the highways, the freeways, they were saying, oh, we're going to just charge you for the first year so that you don't have to, then we just pay for that money for like to make it. And then it's going to be free forever. And then of course it's never free. Then they keep it. So,
as Reagan said, there is nothing more permanent than a temporary government program.
Yes. So like you start a new industry you've never been in, and you think you're going to be able to give cheaper prices than the people that have done that business for years.
I used to work for Kmart, which is now gone, but all the super caves. So I understand the grocery market and how all that works. And the only way a government run store works is then if you go full South Africa and seize all the farms so that you can feed the stuff to the government run store.
Yeah, and that would cost a lot of money, like traveling her place and stuff, cargoes. But yeah, I mean that's the issue. It's like it's dreaming. Like, and again, even if that was a plan that works, it's not that what's going to change the life of New Yorkers or anyone. Or like free buses. Like I live in Los Angeles, and I actually take public transportation in Los Angeles, which is very different, like most people. So it's already cheaper than having a car, and of course it's more expensive in New York and everything. So, but even there, most people take the subway, not the bus, and even like to fund that. There are a lot of like question about everything that he wants to do. He doesn't have the power to just do it. Everything takes a lot of work, like affordable housing. Like the problem in New York is that there is like a crisis because they have like a 1.4% of available houses in the market. But it's not just that there are not enough like buildings. Like there was a a new rule that passed in 2019. I think it was 2019. And because of that, a lot of landlords that they have like apartments, they're saying it's not worth it for them to renovate them. So some of them are broken, they need renovation, but because they change how much they can deduct, how much in the law, how much they can charge after they do the work, they cannot recoup their money. So because of that, a lot of are keeping their apartments unused. They're not usable because obviously they're like in very bad condition. So like some are like broken, like holes in the ceiling and everywhere. So if you just like, if you could get those apartments on the market, that would help. But again, it's not going to solve because you need to build housing, you need to do all of that too. And you need to know how to do it. So to me, it's not just like that what he proposed, it's impossible. I'm saying if Cuomo proposed the same thing, I would believe it because I know that Cuomo gets the job done. If he says something, he's going to do that in some way. He has a plan, someone who has a proven record.
As opposed to a delusional pipe dream fantasy.
Like someone who never done his job before, like he never really had any job, like not even being a waiter. He's like the son of like millionaires too. So he's like a wealthy friend.
He's like Bernie Sanders, wants to tax the million. Bernie Sanders always used to say, I want to tax the millionaires and billionaires. You notice Sanders never says millionaires anymore because he's a multimillionaire with 3 mansions, including an oceanfront property, even though he peddles the climate scam, and has a $250,000 sports car. How many people have that? But so, yeah, he's a millionaire. So now he just wants to tax the billionaires.
And if you're a millionaire, like, you know how to get the system to work too, like not in an illegal way, like, you know how it works. So, you know, like they were saying, even the people from Hollywood, they have millions, but they still propose this thing because they get paid through companies, not as an individual taxpayers and everything. So a lot of these people, they don't have an idea about actually the system works.
Again, it goes back to the top. We don't teach civics, economics, or history at all. And I've got a piece on beforeitsnews.com I wrote in December on housing and actual ways to fix it. And again, I'm not a Trump cultist. So Trump proposing a 50-year mortgage, I'm like, are you kidding? But no one, Mandani is not proposing you must buy a 50-year. No one is forcing anyone. So as an option, okay, make it an option. If people want a 50-year mortgage, make that available. But that doesn't solve anything. There's a whole lot of other things we got to address to solve the housing issue. And I have a piece on that addressing the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all.
I watch a lot of Dave Ramsey, so when that 50 years mortgage came, like all the memes you see online about Dave Ramsey, like it's funny.
30 years is already too long. I mean, what?
I mean, but that's again, it's all putting patches on stuff instead of actually like finding the way to solve the problems at the root and everything. So yeah, definitely. And then like as an immigrant, it drives me crazy, honestly, because like I came here to this country. So when I have to learn system like health insurance, how the taxes work, all of that. Like like you come to a new country, you don't know how the system works. So for me, I always first ask American people and they never knew anything. So I had to learn all of this. And like even now it's like crazy.
You know more. Right. And that's why I love legal immigrants. You know more about our system than the people born here because they're just coasting through life.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I have a lot of people that are very much on the left, friends and everything. And I'm the one explaining to them how the health system works, how the insurance works, and like how to go, which hospital you should go, how to figure out. I had to explain because even at work, like someone got cut and he didn't know what to do. And I was the one like, go and figure it out. Okay, this is your insurance. This is the hospital where you can go, this and that. So it's like interesting for me to see, like, and there is nothing wrong in not knowing the knowledge, but when you're the person who is pushing that solution on other people, but you don't actually have the knowledge to understand how the system works, and you just want to destroy things because it makes you feel good about yourself or whatever, that's an issue. And
feelings rather than thinking, yes.
Yeah, and I have issues with Mamdani because like he's a populist too, obviously, and so he's always about like this thing, oh, people tell us what we cannot do. I've been annoyed by people telling me that like I cannot do this and I cannot do that all my life, and I've done it because people never thought I would be able to come to this country, to stay here, to work, get visa and everything. And beyond that, like I work in the movie industry.
Well, a lot of people, it's an excuse to just give up and not bother to try.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of things that like even working, I made this documentary with no money and everything. So I've done a lot of things that are not were like my background or where I was born, like not my family is not in this industry, in this business. They came to this country only once in 10 years because they don't travel. So I hate when people tell you something cannot be done, but you should prove first that you're someone also that can achieve things, that have done something. And Mamdani, beside winning an election, has done nothing in his life. So that's the...
Okay, we've come full circle. I'm going to wrap it up. I usually try to keep my shows around 30 minutes so they don't get too long. We could talk for 30 hours and still be going. So I do, though, want to wrap it up because we blew way past the 30-minute mark. Where do you have a website for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I have the website for my documentary series. It's called This Is What New Yorkers Say. So that's the best place where like you can read more about the documentary. You can find my social medias, where to watch it. It's now available on streaming platforms like Apple TV, Tubi for free. Someone is interested. And
is that .com?
.com, yeah.
And New Yorkers is spelled out. It's not NY.
No, it's all like written. This is what NewYorkersSay.com. So yeah, that's where you can find more about the documentary. It's me, social media.
Oh, I went blurry again. Anyway, it's more important people see you than see me anyway. They know my ugly face. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Sara Alessandrini, for coming by today. It was a great conversation. It usually happens with me. What rabbit holes open and I can't help with my OCD brain but dive down them. So thank you, Sara. Take care. God bless. Have a great day.
All right, you too.
Like and subscribe to Constitutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help. Thank you for having tuned into another Constitutionalist Podcast show. I really appreciate that you stopped by. Again, please like, share, subscribe. We need you to help spread the Constitutionalist movement. Thank you again. Take care. God bless. Love you all.